Hey guys, this is an army showcase video. I'm going to be showcasing my fellowship force, which has been beautifully painted by Mr. Kevin Surrey from the GBHL Facebook group. Kevin's painted quite a lot over the recent months anyway. SBG miniatures, a lot of Urukai, I think AMR he painted, and some hobbits, and it was his hobbits that caught my eye, and I dropped him a message and got chatting, and he very kindly offered to paint the fellowship up for us, and he basically did it out of the kindness of his own heart, and we're going to use these in a lot of bat reps in the coming months. So I just want to say a massive shout out and thank you to Kevin. We really appreciate it here at Top Table. And these are going to get a lot of use, and they are absolutely stunning. As you can see, all together I've gone for some alternate poses. I just wanted to sort of change things up a little bit, make them look sort of uber cool on the table. Maybe use a couple of minis that you don't normally see, like the Sam or the Aragorn or that Gandalf. Also Gimli. I've had to repair Gimli in transit, unfortunately. He lost his throwing axe, and I repaired it. It got lost in the post, the axe that actually came with the model, so I replaced it with one of the plastic throwing axes from the plastic Gimli from the Plastic Fellowship, and it fits in great. So yeah, I'm over the moon with these. Kevin has sort of really pulled out the stops. I think out of the whole Fellowship, my favourite mini that he's painted is Sam, and I think that's because I have a soft spot for that actual sculpt itself, but Kevin's done an amazing job on him, as he has with the rest of the Fellowship. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through each member of the Fellowship individually, have a really quick chat about their profile, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll come back in a second, and we'll start with Boromir. So, Boromir of Gondor. Boromir of Gondor, he has armour, shield, and the Horn of Gondor, which we'll come to in a second. He has an amazing stat line: Fight 6, Strength 4, Defense 6, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, Courage 6, 6 might, 1 will, no fate. And the no fate is obviously there to, well, basically because Boromir doesn't make it out the first film, he dies. So that's cool and themey. 1 will, you know, it's handy there if you need it, but his big thing is the 6 might. Now with 6 might, Fight 6 and Strength 4, Boromir is going to do a lot of damage. You know, he can chomp through troops, smash through enemy lines, but with the 6 might and the Fight 6, you know, he'll stand up toe to toe with any other enemy leader, and it's highly likely he's going to come off the better. He's amazing. He has the options for an elven cloak, which is always handy, and the option for a horse, which makes him even more brutal on the charge. Yeah, having 3 attacks base, 4 on the charge, and then 8 if he wins the fight because the enemy's not down. It's going to hurt. You know, his Strength 4, that's going to stand him in good stead to do some damage. The Horn of Gondor, Boromir can blow his horn at the beginning of any fight phase where he's outnumbered in the fight. And basically what happens is any of the enemies that he's in contact with in the combat phase, the one with the highest courage value takes a courage check. If he passes it, the combat's fought as normal. If he's failed, Boromir automatically wins the fight and can then strike blows, which is awesome, especially if you're up against like things like orcs or goblins, anything with a low courage. You know, you charge in against 2 every time and you've just automatically got the advantage of winning the fight. And even if they do pass it, you know, the odd chance that an orc or a goblin passes it, with Boromir with his Fight 6 and his 6 might, it's highly unlikely he's going to lose that fight. And 6 opportunities if needed to do heroic combats. You know, going in against at least 2 enemies per time per combat. That's insane. He's going to do a lot of damage. So I'm looking forward to using Boromir. So we'll move on to our next mini, which will be Gandalf the Grey. So on to Gandalf the Grey, one of my favourite characters in the books and the films, and also in the game to play. I've used him quite a lot in the past. I allied him in different armies, mostly Lake Town for me, and he's always done well. So Gandalf the Grey, his stat line is 5/5, strength 4, defense 6, 1 attack, 3 wounds, courage 7, 3 might, 6 will, 3 fate. He has 6 will, but he's got a Staff of Power, which means that he gets a 3 point of will each turn, which is really handy, and you need it really. So yeah, he gets a 3 point of will every turn as long as he's got his staff. Talking about his fate also, he also carries Naya, the Elven Ring, which lets him re-roll his fate rolls, which again is really handy, because only having 1 attack dice, once Gandalf eventually does get into combat, you know, he can be quite fragile, so having the opportunity to re-roll fate rolls is really, really good and really, really helpful. Gandalf has the option to take a horse, which for me is almost always going to be a must, unless I was playing a scenario where he doesn't have his horse, or, you know, for theme purposes. But yeah, given the choice in tournament environment, I'd always put him on his horse, just because he has 1 attack normally. So, you know, when it does come to the point where you're getting him into combat, having the knockdown and the extra attack dice is really cool. But the main reason is for increasing your range for casting. It's really, really handy just to move sort of into range to cast something and then be able to get away out of the danger area, which is really good. His cart, the option of his cart, which you don't see very often, you do now and again. I think the main reason you don't see it very often is it's quite a big, not a massive point sink, but you could get a lot more by just using a horse and having them spare points over in your force that you're putting him in with. But I mean, it looks cool, it's a really nice model, and the cart's defense is 5. It has 3 wounds, so it's sturdy, and it means that he's going to stay as a cavalry model for a lot longer than he would do on a horse. So it has its benefits, you just don't see it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I've got the model. I'll probably get it painted up at some point and use him on a cart, just for the fun of it really, but I generally put him on a horse. Gandalf can also cast a nice set of spells, which are Blinding Light, Terrifying Aura, Immobilize, Command, Strength and Will, Sorcerous Blast. All really handy spells. All spells that you there's nothing in there that, you know, is surplus to requirements, should we say, that you're not going to use. Everything in there is handy and very, very useful. So that is Gandalf the Grey, and we'll move on to Gimli the Dwarf. So Gimli, son of Gloin. Gimli's a really fun character. He's got a high defense value, which means he's really sturdy, and he'll stick around for quite a long time. His stat line is fight 6, 4+ shoot value, strength 4, defense 8, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6, 3 might, 2 will, 2 fate. The 2 attacks that he has in his stat line is really handy, and you do have the option to bump it up to 3 attacks, sort of free of charge, and you can. That counts as him fighting with an axe in each hand, or you can go 2-handed on his main axe, but he doesn't suffer the penalty of -1 to roll to win the fight. So you can go basically 2 attacks, which gives you a +1 to wound, or you can go 3 attacks at strength 4. So yeah, I mean, Gimli's really cool. I see Gimli quite a lot on the tournament scene in different kinds of forces, obviously dwarven forces, but other forces as well. People ally him in a lot. He has the option for an elven cloak, which is handy, but to be honest, with defense 8, I don't think you'd be throwing your arrows at Gimli. You'd choose a softer target. But yeah, it's really, really cool. So iconic from the movies, and all the models that are available for Gimli are all cool. I like them all. This is one of my favourites, hence me getting it painted up. But yeah, Gimli's something that is going to. I wouldn't have him as a leader, even though he has got that high defence. He's the kind of model that you throw in there and you get him doing heroic combats and smashing things up, because you can afford to lose a fight with him at defence 8. He can take a beating. He's got 2 fate and 2 wounds, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And that's Gimli, Son of Gloin. So we'll move on to Legolas the Elf. So Legolas the Elf, very, very popular, especially in the tournament scene, because he's just such a handy model to have in your force. His Deadly Shot special rule, which I'll go into in a minute, just sort of in some lists makes him a must-add, and even he's a must-add in some lists that have nothing to do with elves, which kind of makes me laugh sometimes. But yeah, Legolas the Elf is really, really handy in your tournament forces. So his stat line: fight 6, strength 4, defense 4, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6, 3 might, 2 will, 3 fate. His war gear is an elf bow. He has the options of an elven cloak, a horse, and armour. Now the horse is a bit of a double-edged blade really, because it's handy to have that manoeuvrability, especially when shooting. It basically means that you can move 5 inches and still shoot. But while you're mounted, if you've paid for the elven cloak doesn't count because they can still see the horse. So yeah, it's kind of depends what you're up against, and it depends what you want Legolas to do in your force. You tend to see him more on foot, for obvious reasons with the elven cloak. He's got woodland creature special rule, which means he can trot through woodlands and forests and things like that unhindered. His Deadly Shot means that as long as he can see something, he can shoot it, and he's basically you get 1 chance to wound or kill enemy leaders or things in your opposing force, which are going to cause you a problem in the future, or it could get you important VPs and things like that. Normally, if you don't use the Deadly Shot rule, it gets 3 shots, which again, just that on its own is really handy and amazing. He's got an elven bow, so it's strength 3 shots from 1 model. That can prove very, very deadly. So yeah, that's Legolas. From there we'll move on to Aragorn. So Aragorn, Strider as the profile is in if you're taking the Fellowship. Really cool, really iconic character in the game. Aragorn is up there, probably barring Gandalf is my favourite character. And Aragorn, I remember when I first sort of was getting into and started the game, like I always wanted to use Aragorn. I don't use him so much at tournaments. I've always said that I wanted to, just because he's such a fun profile to use, but just I've never played a Fellowship, and I've not played Gondor for a while, and when I did play Gondor I tended to use the mid-level heroes like Girion and Faramir more, as Aragorn for Gondor was very, very expensive. I mean, he's expensive in this, but he's really cool. James has used him quite a bit and has done very, very well with him. Having the Mighty Hero rule is really handy. So let's get on to his profile. He's fight 6, strength 4, defense 5, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 6. He has 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate. With his 3 might, obviously, like I say, Mighty Hero, he gets to use a free point of might every turn, which is just so annoying if you're playing against it. If you're basically getting a free shot at a heroic strike or a heroic move, and if you don't do that, you have the chance of upping your dice rolls in important situations. So Aragorn can really sort of sway the tide of the game and dictate a lot of what's happening. His options for war gear is Anduril, Flame of the West, Elven Cloak, Horse, Armour or Bow. Anduril is very expensive for what you get, especially with this has all been said before, especially with like the Hobbit rules and certain characters since the Hobbit came out that get a similar rule for free. or well, maybe not for free, but for nowhere near the cost of what Andrew will cost you. But still, it is very, very cool. And if you're going for theme or you're playing a scenario, then yeah, it's going to be awesome. Elven Cloak, if you're up against shooty forces, it's kind of a given. Horse, again, putting Aragorn on a horse is a massive advantage and just makes him even better than what he is anyway. Armour, I'd always try to give him armour just to bump up that defence. Again, for bowfire, and you know, coming up against things that are strength 4 with your defence 5, things are going to hurt. So if you can get that up to defence 6, then it's not so bad for obvious reasons. And a bow, Aragorn's quite good with a bow. I found when I have used him, very rarely in friendly games, you know, having that 3-point of might, you can really sort of ping some shots and do some important. There might only be a wound on your enemy leader or something like that, but that's a VP in most scenarios. It's quite cool. So yeah, having a bow, if you've got spare 5 points, whack a bow on Aragorn and get shooting from early on in the game. So yeah, so that's Aragorn Strider. From there we will move on to the Hobbits. First Hobbit we're going to look at is Peregrine Took. So, Pippin. Pippin's stat line is Fight 3, 3+ shoot value, Strength 2, Defense 3, 1 attack, 1 wound, Courage 4, no might, no will, 1 fate. I really like the Hobbit profiles. I think they tie in sort of perfectly with how the books and the films portray them. Most of them have similar special rules. We'll start here. He has resistance to magic, which is really handy, and throw stones, again, can come in really handy in certain situations. They have an option for war gear, or should I say Pippin has an option for war gear of an Elven Cloak. That's really handy because they're so susceptible with a low defence to shooting. Having the Elven Cloak is really, really handy. I'd never ever sort of used Hobbits before until I did a bat rep with Benjamin Bowles, which unfortunately I wasn't able to release because a lot of the second half, the files that when I filmed it were corrupt, and it was such a shame. It was an amazing bat rep on my Brie board with all the buildings and things. It was really cool, and I used them then, and they were so much fun. I think these profiles are written, excuse me, with fun in mind. But that's Pippin. We'll move on to Merry next. So, Meriadoc Brandybuck, Merry, as we all know and love him. Exactly the same profile, stat line should I say, as Pippin. Fight 3, 3+ shoot value, Strength 2, Defense 3, 1 attack, 1 wound, Courage 4, no might, no will, 1 fate. Option of Elven Cloak, resistant to magic, and a throw stone special rule. Again, not much more I can say about Merry that I haven't already said about Pippin. The profiles are exactly the same. It's just a really cool profile and so much fun to use, and the minis themselves are awesome. So from Merry, we'll go on to Sam. Samwise Gamgee. Again, you know, it's a Hobbit profile, so it's Fight 3, 3+ shoot value, Strength 2, Defense 3, 1 attack, 2 wounds, slightly different, and Courage 5, slightly different for Sam. He's a little bit more brave than the other two. Sam has 1 might, 1 will, and 2 fate. So Sam has kind of got the options there to mix things up and make a difference over Merry and Pippin. He has the resistance to magic special rule and throw stones, and he also has access to an Elven Cloak at a points cost. Really cool profile. Having that might point is really handy. Having the extra wound and fate roll means that, you know, Sam can do a lot more than the other two can, and so he should. I mean, he's Frodo's bodyguard basically. Maybe something that I've always wished that they would have done with Sam was give him maybe that bodyguard special rule when he's on the board with Frodo while Frodo's alive, because that would just be so thematic and cool. Because I think that's, you know, especially if you read the books or when you watch the films, you know, protecting Frodo is his #1 mission, and he does everything he can to do that. I mean, he even jumps in the water to follow him when he can't swim. So I think he should pass all courage checks when trying to protect his buddy. But that's Samwise Gamgee, and I'd just like a quick mention on this sculpt. Probably one of my favourite sculpts out of all the Hobbits, if not, you know, the range of. It's hard to pick favourite sculpts in ranges because there's so many nice ones, but I really like this sculpt, which is why I sent it off to Kevin and to get some paint on it and use it. So from Sam, we'll move on to Frodo. So Frodo Baggins. Now Frodo's profile is quite a bit different than the others, for the simple reason that the war gear that Frodo carries as standard is the ring. Now the ring has its own special rules, which I'm not going to go into. You know, we all have the source books and have access to it. We can read them, because I'll be here for a good half hour talking about the rules of the ring. So we know what that can do. So his stat line is Fight 3, 3 plus shoot value, Strength 2, Defense 3, 1 attack, 2 wounds, Courage 6, 2 might, 2 will, 3 feet. Again, Frodo can change things. He has the ability to do that with his might and his will and his fate. He has 2 wounds, so he's a bit more hardy. You know, kind of showing us all that he's on this mission with the ring, and you know he's willing to basically go to the end and do what he needs to do to get the job done. He has the option for a mithril coat, which is very handy. Basically what it means is it increases his defense value from 3 to 6, which is massive and really thematic. He has the option for Sting. Sting adds 1 to Frodo's strength value, giving him a strength of 3 when he's fighting. I'm just thinking, I've never used this. Is it just for orcs, or is it if he's carrying Sting? It must be generally across the board that it increases his strength, surely. Correct me on that. I've never actually read the rules for Sting before or used it, so yeah, I'm a bit new to that. But yeah, correct me on that. He also has the option for an Elven Cloak. Again, really handy. The low defense of the Hobbits, an Elven Cloak is a must if you're coming up against armies that have bows. He's resistant to magic and he can throw stones. And that's Frodo. We're almost there. We've got one more profile to look at, and it's a rare one, and it's Build a Pony. And on we move to our final profile in my fellowship, Bill the Pony. Bill's a pony, so he can move 8 inches. He has a stat line of Fight 1, Strength 3, Defense 4, 1 attack, 2 wounds, Courage 2, 0 might, 1 will, 1 fate. So he's got 2 wounds and 1 fate. He's no slouch by any means. Low defense. He has 3 special rules. One of them is called Official Meals, and that basically means that he's a banner for all hobbits, which is awesome. The next one is called Second Breakfast. Basically that means any hobbits that end their move or are in base contact with Build a Pony get to roll a d6. On the roll of a 6 they can replenish either a point of might, will or fate, which is really good. The only thing would be 6 is, you know, 1 in 6 chance. Maybe if it was a 5+, you'd see Bill a little bit more on the tables. Having to roll a 6 makes it, sometimes you can go games and, you know, you don't use it at all. And I think that's one of the big reasons, like I say, that you don't see him. And the next one is Only a Pony, which basically means he's not a combat hero. He cannot charge. He can be charged, he cannot charge, you can't use him aggressively. Other models can't use his standfast. There's no reason why people would feel envigored by a pony. And yeah, now, but Bill can benefit from other standfast rules, which is standfasts from heroes, which is good. So that's it. That's Build a Pony. That's my fellowship. Really happy with them. Can't wait to get them on the table. When me and Jay finally do get a chance to get together, we're going to try and film some of the scenarios from the Journey books, the thematic ones, and it'll be a lot of fun to play with the fellowship. I'll probably have a go with them in some way, shape or form at the normal sort of points match scenarios as well, just to see how they fare. But yeah, that's it. So keep on gaming, guys. Keep keep following us, share the videos, and we will see you very, very soon in the next video.